Said go live. Oh, we're live. Hey, it's me, Kelly in Phoenix on Twitter with my co-host, Bo McBrayer and Conor Coughlin. So we're going to get into it tonight with a Golden Hurricane and our PGA Championship Tour picks. Championship Tour? Well, PGA Championship. You know exactly what I mean. I'm supposed to keep this under 10 seconds, and it's not. So Seth is going to be super mad. Catch you later. Bye.
Man, that intro is so long. You went at least 13 seconds over.
I really did. You know what? Sometimes I just stumble on my words. I find it endearing.
Well, we had a good run with you, Kelly.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been real. It's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun.
Yes, it has. Don't lie.
It's been really okay.
Super satisfactory.
Yeah.
You know what is really weird is my mic is the wrong mic, so that's awesome.
You can't win them all. Can't win them all.
All right. So this is the 19th hole live. What are we doing?
We're
Kelly
talking about my
switching mics midstream. This is going swimmingly.
It is. It's going swimmingly. So tonight we are discussing the PGA Championship, which happens right now this time every year in May. And this year it's at a new venue, which hasn't been visited in like 15 years. So when we talk about player history, course history, doesn't necessarily come into play here. So I can't wait for Conor to tell us about that. But before, we need to kick this off with a cocktail. Bo is going to be making a Golden Hurricane.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys got all your ingredients.
I think I didn't forget anything this time. I was at the store, had the recipe right in front of me. So most of the stuff I already had.
I'm really surprised that you didn't give me hell about not being able to stand long enough to make this cocktail. I'll just give it to myself.
I mean, I really do have a lot of empathy, even though I'm not nearly as old as you are. I felt for you. Like I had instant empathy to your situation where you got a bad back or your legs are sore. Hell, you could have an ingrown toenail and not want to do the bar camp. So I commend you. Take the week off. I got this.
I'm ready to enjoy. I also don't have a blender handy, so that was another reason you got nominated.
Well, I mean, there's the difference is like a lot of places you'll go and they sell the frozen hurricanes because that's easier to make in bigger batches. But if you're at a bar, they're not going to have a noisy blender anyway, and so they're probably going to serve it chilled, shaken the traditional way. That's a hurricane in a bar, but I'm kind of like, I'm going to go to a lowbrow place that has a blender and they're going to cheer and take a shot every time the blender gets fired up. That's kind of one of my old golf stories. Is one of my first golf tournaments I ever played in was a father-son tournament for my dad's company. And there was a guy who had his own golf cart and affixed to the back of it, instead of having the little tray where you put your head covers, he had a Jimmy Buffett Margaritaville blender. And I'd never forget that, because we're doing an 18-hole shotgun start, and at 8 a.m. shotgun start, you could hear that blender from all the way across the course, and everybody cheered when it got fired up, because you knew he was mixing another drink up.
I've seen that live in action too. That blender is something, man.
Yeah, I got the Vitamix here. We're gonna mix up a golden hurricane, which isn't much different than a regular hurricane, but we're gonna do it frozen style because I really want to have a party, have fun.
I don't have a blender handy or half of the ingredients, so I will be making what I'm going to call a natural disaster in a martini glass with Honest Kids and
you got to do what you got to do. Let's go.
Bacardi banana.
Oh my God.
And I do have some mint.
That's not even rum at this point.
No, you put the lime in the coconut. So instead of a hurricane, you're doing a tropical depression.
That's
kind of depressing
right. A tropical depression. Bo told me to write that down, and I said natural disaster instead. But
you could have at least splurged for Capri Sun or something.
100% juice. Honest to God, it's juice.
All right, Bo, walk us through it. Let's go.
All right, so we're going to do 2 ounces each of a dark or light rum. I have a nice darker rum and then a really generic, light rum here. It really doesn't matter when you're making a fruity drink like this what grade of rum you use. I would probably not use a fancy aged rum in a regular drink like this because it's not necessary. It doesn't make a difference if you're mixing it with all this sugar. This is a very sweet drink. It's something that you could have on a resort or at an outdoor patio bar. We're doing the Golden Hurricane because Tulsa, Oklahoma, their university is nicknamed the Golden Hurricane. So I just figured what better place to commemorate one of the best golf courses in the world, Southern Hills, in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I've driven through Tulsa. It isn't much to speak of, but that is a crown jewel in American golf in Southern Hills. And the Golden Hurricane is just simply a hurricane without as much grenadine. I'm not going to mix the grenadine in to give it that red color. We're going to do a golden one where it's going to be more of a golden color. And then I'm just going to splash some grenadine on top because it really tastes good. All right, so you get yourself 2 ounces each of the dark and light rum and the blender.
Kelly's got her thinger out, so make sure you tell her which side to use.
Is it the big side?
Yeah, that's 2 ounces, Kelly. You got your weird pipe jigger there. I've never seen one like that.
It's her shot thingy.
Shot thingy. It's right. It's called a jigger. Am I right, Connor?
You're correct, sir.
All right.
I think you were absent when we were giving her a hard time about her shot thinger.
Yeah, we're gonna do 3 ounces each of the juices. You can use any kind of fruit juice as long as it's sweet and sour. It's kind of the notes you're trying to hit with this drink is sweet and sour, but mostly sweet. OJ is one of my favorites. It always makes it taste better. Adds enough bitterness to not make it completely sweet. Oh, I should put a little bit more, 3 ounces. And then I'm going with this recipe that we were sharing said passion fruit juice. I don't know what the hell that is. Couldn't find it anywhere. So it also said, or any like fruity tropical blend. And so I went and got mango peach V8 splash. And this stuff is delicious. Like you could drink this straight.
I've had that with a ton of different spirits over time.
Yes, it mixes well, as they say. All right.
I have organic superfruit punch.
Ooh, that actually sounds good. Honestly,
there's probably kale in that. It's going to come out green. Just keep watching.
Yeah, it's delicious, right? All right, so you got all your stuff mixed together. I'm going to throw in some ice, not too much ice because I want it to pour, but enough to cover it up.
Start that chainsaw.
Yep, this sucker's loud too. It's a Vitamix that I've had for years. Let's go.
Actually, wasn't that bad.
It's got an engine. All right, and we got
Lucky
a pour
takes
out
me
on top here. I'm going to pour it into my Tootsie's Nashville, the Orchid Lounge in Nashville, Hurricane glass. Got it at the gift shop at the Nashville airport. This sucker is strong. It's kind of like a Long Island where if you drink it fast and you don't feel anything at first, it's going to hit you hard later. So we're just going to do grenadine on top. We're going to do a lime garnish on there. And I have a sprig of mint and a maraschino cherry lay across there.
Woo.
That is a golden hurricane, ladies and gentlemen.
Looks delish.
Woo.
Oh, and pinkies up as always.
Always. Yeah, and I think
it's a good straw drink too. You could suck this down with one of those crinkle straws, one of those crazy swirly straws, and look ridiculous, but be hammered with sugar rush. All right.
Super easy drink to adjust to. Like that's a nice thing about these sugary drinks is like if you want a little
less
less
booze, can't even taste the alcohol. That's dangerous.
Yeah, it is dangerous. But yeah, like I was gonna say, if you want a little less booze, just cut your rum in half. You know, no, don't do 2 ounces of each. Just do 1 ounce of each. You get the same flavor profile, little less intense, and drink maybe 2 of them instead of 1.
I've done.
Now I got myself a nice drink.
6 ounces of banana Bacardi.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Garnished with a real banana.
Banana.
Garnished. I'm almost garnished. I'm taking too long to garnish.
Perfection takes time, Kelly.
All right, you can shut down that bar cam. It's not a very flattering angle.
Fine.
What angle are they supposed to get you or I at to make us look flattering? That's the question.
Not from below. We learned that in the MySpace days. But here you go. I got my nice purple straw now. It's a little long.
That's what she said.
Yep.
Well,
Screenshot that.
Add a little more honest kids, and then I'll drink.
That is delicious.
This is like ASMR over here. With my...
I love Slade here. Everything I know about Tulsa, I learned on the first 48. If that isn't the truest thing ever.
So cheers.
Cheers to you guys. Should we go over who was the victor last week?
I was the victor last week. And I almost forgot that I won and was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to take a shot of this Bacardi banana. And now I
you
feel
still
so
do.
much
You still
better
do because I won the MVP battle.
Yeah, you won
Dang
the cash.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
you
I
got
won
the money, which is what I wanted more than watching you guys drink in front of me and not involving me because you lost. So what a loser prize, right? Is you have to take a shot. Oh. Pobrecitos.
I'll raise my hand and tell everybody I got my ass absolutely kicked last week.
You got barbecued last week. It didn't help though that your guy CT Pan, who was also in my pool, withdrew about 7 minutes before lock, and there was nothing you could do.
No, you were dead in the water. I still stand by. He was going to be a good play too, but
what do you do? That's what happens. PGA DFS is a MFer.
Here's to you, Bo.
Here's
losers.
To you,
here's to you, Kelly, for winning.
Thank you. Here's to you for losing.
Yeah. Banana.
Oh my gosh.
I am definitely looking forward to next week when I don't have to do that.
You say that now.
But yeah, joking aside, I think all of us had some really good plays. Bo and I talked a lot about it. Like we just we didn't put them together, and I think that was the biggest challenge was lineup construction last week. I think a lot of the plays we were on, I mean, I wouldn't say they were all obvious. I mean, Austin Smotherman was one that was not obvious, but at 105 DK points, we crushed that value.
Yep.
So
with no, it was nothing but pure leverage. It was gorgeous.
I think he was like 2% owned in the bigger GPP I was in. I was just like, oh,
in the one I was in, he was at 0.8,
just nuts.
Which is chef's kiss.
I think what was most interesting to me last week was I had built my initial lineup in FanDuel. And then to enter our contest, I moved over to DraftKings, but could not make the pieces fit. And it was extremely frustrating for me. But the best part is
last week.
My FanDuel lineup took a complete dive. And my DraftKings lineup was the winner. And had I been in a full-on contest or entered it in a full-on contest, it probably would have won as well. Yeah. So here's 2 good picks. It was actually a combination of players from both of your teams and mine. I think I had like 2, 2, and 2, completely on accident. But yeah, it was good.
If you would have combined our picks last week, that's what it would have been. It would have been a winning lineup because the reason why Connor said we just didn't put it together was we had some great picks, maybe say 3 or 4 of those guys really panned out in the same lineup. Then you had the one guy that you really liked that was in all those lineups that just nuked himself and missed the cut, like Zalatoris missed the cut that we were on. It was a rampage because you had guys that were highly owned, which really helped the scoring. If you had a decent 5 out of 6 lineup, you were going to make money because so many people got nuked by the popular guys missing the cut. Because they couldn't keep up with it was a birdie barrage out there.
I had an actual decent lineup, and we barely hit on a couple of the guys that actually scored really well for me. But like I was in the $44, the big one, and I had Spieth and Matsuyama up top. Spieth threw down 141 points. Matsuyama threw down 140. And then my boy Davis Riley at 115.5 in that lineup, and Mr. Smotherman. So I mean, had Zalatoris made that cut, he was in that lineup too. Oh my God!
And the guy's a birdie waiting to happen, and he just couldn't put it together. The course was kind of crappy for tour standards. A lot of people complained about it because there really wasn't anything more than a Corn Ferry Tour setup where they were just asking for the best scoring conditions. And I guess it's important to have those stops on the tour, but it was kind of embarrassing for Texas that way.
My most disappointing play was probably Sam Burns. He missed the cut, and it made me super sad. On the flip side,
I forget who was saying Sam Burns was going to be awful last week. It was this guy right here. I was rolling my eyes when you said Sam Burns last week, and I felt amazing about watching him fall apart.
I've been Burns.
Burned by Burns. I have been burned by Burns for the last few weeks. So he's not been performing well. So I broke up with him this week. So this will be for sure the week to put Sam Burns in because I broke up with him.
It's his rebound week. He's got to rebound up. Kelly dumped him. He's devastated. And
I broke up with Kind Eyes himself. Yeah. Kind Eyes, Matt Kuchar. We broke up last week, and he did well.
He did the hokey pokey and turned himself around. Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about.
So if anybody's looking for a hot tip, I broke up with Sam Burns, so he's probably going to do really well.
Yep. Kiss of death.
Goodness gracious. Do you want to tell us about I'm supposed to be doing something right now. I'm sorry.
Well, we already spun her back. We were just going to
spun it back.
So I can talk about the course.
Yeah, it's course time.
Let's slam some trunks and talk about the course.
Let's do it.
Or talk about the course and then slam some trunks.
No, let's play some music.
All right, ready, go.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling slam.
All right. I feel pumped. I'm ready. Tell us about this course.
You know what the intro reminded me of? And I don't know if I shared this, but I did something that I hadn't done in like 15 years last time I played golf. And that was I actually threw a golf club. I have not.
Is that how you threw your back out?
No, this was previous, but when it gets there. But yeah, like I'm not an advocate of throwing golf clubs. I think it's ridiculous. But anyways, I bladed 4, count them 4 chip shots with my 54 degree across the green, back across.
That wedge would have been in pieces.
Threw it directly into a tree, hit every branch on the way down. Yeah. And then I just went and sat in the cart, had a beer. But anyways.
I wasn't a club thrower, but I would slam it against my golf bag. Like if I had a bad shot, I'd just take a little whip shot at the Mills golf bag. And one time I was in a tournament and I hit a 9-iron, like left short side of myself in a bunker. And I took that 7-iron and whipped it and hit the bag, and the 7-iron snapped in half. And I was like, all right then, the bag wins, and I don't have a 160 club today. This is great.
Which is unimportant for you. You bomb it. All you do is bomb. Yeah. You don't need 100.
My wedges are worn down from short entry, short approach shots. Yeah.
I mean, you can only hit so many little 60-yard chippers.
Yeah, it's kind of boring after a while.
So Southern Hills Country Club, to Bo's point, this one probably one of the more difficult courses, if not the most. Really, really long. We're about 7,500 plus yards. They think they can stretch it out to a max of about 7,600. Which is insane to think about. It's a par 70, which is also not, it's kind of crazy.
So is it 70 or 71? Because I've seen it both ways in the news, and I'm not sure what the official par is.
So I've seen more 70 than 71. So I'm sticking with 70. But I can tell you it's not going to matter for a lot of guys because they're going to be over that number. The greens are bent grass, which you'll find as you kind of get into putting splits and stuff. A lot of the guys actually tend to fare better on bent grass. However, these greens are crazy. Bo used the analogy earlier in our show chat about it's like a potato chip. And if you think about like a ruffle has ridges, that's the scenario you're in.
Right.
A couple of things about the course, not to belabor it because we got a lot to talk about with the picks, but they have removed several trees out of this course. They've kind of opened it up to let that Oklahoma wind kind of get after the players a little bit. And from everything I'm seeing, that is actually going to come into play this week a fair amount. Your par 5s are some of the longest on tours. I believe they stretch out to almost 600 yards apiece.
Over 627 and 653.
Yep.
So we have pretty much what it does is level the playing field where your shorter hitters are back in play there because it's a 3-shot hole for everyone.
Yep. And to that point, and we'll get to it, but I think the scrambling or around the green game is going to be important. Your par 3s are actually relatively long as well. What's surprising is most of the par 4s actually play a lot shorter than what you would expect. I think there's only one par 4 that's over 500 yards on the course. It is going to be firm and fast, although some of the early reports are that the greens are rolling out a little bit slow right this second. That's not going to be the case once the wind kicks up and dries this place out. To me, there's a lot of ways to get in trouble here, but probably the most prevalent one is that most of the greens have significant runoff to them. So, and the greens are smaller, harder to hit, harder to hold. They're going to run off into these kind of abysses, front, back, left, right, doesn't really matter. So depressions, undulations, if you will.
Collection areas. Here, I would like your golf ball, please.
Down by the sewer grate. That's where you'll find me. So yeah, like I said, I mean, not to belabor it too much because a lot to unpack, but that's the long and short is, I don't know that I think you got to have every shot in your bag this week. I think potentially bomber's distance will help, but you need somebody who's accurate. Some of the things I looked at statistics wise, I looked at a lot of approach game. I looked at shots gained off the tee. I looked at a few things, and I don't do this often, but I actually baked in some windy AF conditions into my fantasy national modeling. And specifically, I focused on being able to hit approaches in windy AF conditions. So that was something that I definitely looked at. The wind's going to be there. So I would advise if you're using any kind of stat generator that you bake in some wind.
Yeah, Friday and Saturday, they're forecasting 30-plus mile-an-hour gusts, which is going to be this is already a really brutal course for the tour players, but with the wind that difficult, you're looking at over par as being still good. Like if you're shooting pars on that course in the wind, you're playing phenomenal golf. So
Yeah.
I do expect if the winds hold, you're looking at an over par champion.
Yeah, and
I was thinking, go ahead.
No, ladies first.
I was raising my hand, but I wasn't sure. I was seeing that players in the first wave Thursday and Friday would likely have the better end of the stick, I guess you say.
Yeah.
According to like the winds and things, but that changes on a daily basis. That changes on a dime. So that's what kind of throws a wrench in everything. Even if we think back to the players, I mentioned that in our group chat about how the wind it's the wild card for sure.
And I think
that's
to that point,
go ahead.
I think the first day, I think there is maybe an AM PM split advantage. However, the second day, I'm not so convinced of that. I think that there'll be enough wind and everything going on, and they're not going to be able to water and saturate this course enough that AM split for Friday is going to be that much of an advantage. Obviously, it'll play a little bit softer, a little bit slower, but I don't think it's going to be night and day the way that Thursday potentially could be.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at. Is I became in courses like this where there's really not a definitive edge for any type of golfer. You become kind of a meteorologist. Like, okay, what's going to be the separator here? What's interesting is the weather on Friday. It's going to be heavy north winds and hot and dry. We're talking mid 80s, which with hardly any trees on this course is going to be hot for those golfers. And with a north wind, it's going to make half of these holes super long. And then as you end Friday, the wind is actually going to die down because it's changing directions. It's going to come whipping the same miles per hour out of the south on Saturday, and it's going to drop the temperature by 30 degrees. So you're looking at maybe the late Friday window being the advantage, to where when that wind is switching directions and the air is cooling down, you might have a segment of golfers who might be able to attack more pins.
Yeah, that makes sense. I dread any kind of weather interference because it feels like these guys can only play in perfect weather. And so no matter what happens, it's going to be like, whatevs, I did my best.
Weather's crazy because you don't know. Like, that if there was any element of skill to this, that it's out the window.
Yeah.
Except for some people, and we'll get into them.
There are a handful. Yeah.
Top tier time.
Yeah. So top tier, Kelly, you want to kick it off?
Top tier. I am still stuck on Scotty Scheffler this week, and why not? He's the number one player in the world still. Last week, he didn't play too shabbily. He just didn't play like the number one player in the world. He's still ranking second in birdies, right? And that's what really matters when we're talking DFS. So he's still an excellent player for your DFS rosters. When we talk about strokes gained, he ranks sixth overall and fourth in greens and regulations. So the last point, not to belabor my Scotty Scheffler adoration.
You have the floor with Scheffler. We can't poke holes in the number one player in the world.
You can't. You really can't. I mean, I have another one we can talk about later if one of you doesn't. But Southern Hills Country Club just happens to be Scotty Scheffler's favorite place to play. I read that, and I'm like, thank you. Yeah. Universe.
And after they finish this tournament, you're going to have half of the field saying that that's the best golf course they've ever played. That's how amazing this course is. It is as true a test with fairness that you're going to find.
Yeah.
And I think, I honestly, it's Scotty Scheffler right now, hottest player in the world. Quite frankly, his short game, his putting,
scrambling. He's the best scrambler in the world, and it's not even close. And we're going to have a course that's going to demand scrambling.
To me, it's so crazy how this is the discipline, I think, that comes into play that some of these players don't have. Like when we talk about Morikawa, for instance, who just seems to lose it if he gets off course. I mean, the faith, it just falls.
Yeah,
I
it's
know
kind of
that.
funny how he fell apart when he won the PGA already.
Okay. Okay. I'm just saying the guy wears his heart on his sleeve. He gets down in the face. He loses it for a few holes, and he might or might not get it back. That's just the honest truth. Scheffler, on the other hand, will make a horrible play. He'll be like, dang it.
Oh,
And then he like miraculously hits it out of nowhere to save the hole. And that is exactly what we need this round. I didn't mention his cost. So if we're putting him on your team's FanDuel, 12,000, which again is so pricey, and 11,400 on DraftKings, which for DraftKings is also very pricey. But I think in this case, that is worth the value in this tournament this week for that player. Whereas last week we had some wiggle room.
And I actually like Scheffler, not only for all the reasons we just outlined, but actually in your bigger GPPs, I do like Scheffler. Right now, they're saying average projection is looking at about 14.5% rostership. So if you're looking at that at 11.4, yeah, it's a high number, but once you get down into the low sevens, even to mid sixes, there's some good value plays in there.
Yep.
So
I
Scotty,
was going to say the same thing.
Not price prohibitive this week, and I don't know if you can find a golfer that has a better all around skill set, at least at the moment, than Scotty Scheffler.
No,
yeah,
it's getting the ball in the hole. I mean, he doesn't look good doing it, but man, he's the best in the world at doing it. Doing simple golf. Just I'm going to find the fairway somehow. I'm going to put it on the green, and then I'm going to put the ball in the hole. And he does it better than anybody.
So what
go ahead.
No. I'm like jumping in front of you, which I don't know why. I'm just very excited about Scotty Scheffler.
I was just going to talk more about Colin Morikawa because we already touched on it a bit.
You know what?
Devil's advocate, one thing on Scotty, and then I totally want to hear your take on Colin because I'm not there.
Yeah, you're with Kelly on this one.
But Scotty actually over the last 36 rounds played in high wind conditions actually gets exponentially worse. He goes almost, he's like in the lower half of almost lower back third of the field in approach in windy conditions. So that's maybe the only piece that I'm a little bit apprehensive with Scotty, because we really haven't seen him play in crazy high wind when he's been on this tear that he's been on.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think his current his recent form versus the 36 rounds that would apply to this metric are kind of skewed, and that he's a much better golfer than arguably he was at that time where those rounds would have compiled. But it is something to take note of that he has shown that he struggles in the past.
Well, you're going to talk about ball flight and trajectory a lot because of the wind, but that's probably why, because Scotty Scheffler is a high ball hitter. Like some of the people we're going to cover today, we're taking a chance that the wind might still be not too much of a downfall for the high ball hitters that we're going to see, like Rory McIlroy.
Right.
But I'm sticking more to low ball flight players like Colin Morikawa because he is a master ball striker. He can hit the ball high, low, in between, draw hook, and his short game around the green. He's not the best putter, but around the green, Morikawa is one of the best in the world too. So
okay,
I'm favoring him a lot.
Hold. We talked about percentage of rostership here for Scheffler, and this is a really important thing to say between DraftKings and FanDuel as you're building your rosters. And this is going to be the exact same thing I ran into last week. Scheffler on DraftKings, it is exactly 14% rostership. He's, however, showing not a great value on DraftKings. DraftKings fans are favoring Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay over Scotty Scheffler. When we look at FanDuel, it's a 16% rostership for Xander Schauffele, and he is listed as a good value, and he's only
Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler.
Scheffler.
Schauffele is a better value according to FanDuel fans and DraftKings fans, as well as John Rahm over on FanDuel rostership, but not in value. And the last player that comes in on both platforms with great value or good value and extreme ownership over Scotty Scheffler would be Cantlay. And I'm sure we're going to talk about some of these players later, but I think it's important to call out that he's favored far higher on FanDuel than on DraftKings.
Yep. It's very important to get leverage and not overexpose yourself to that high ownership that Scheffler is definitely going to have. And especially at the top of the price for him is if you have that double whammy of rostership and then price, you're not getting the best value. You're not actually going to win the most. So start Gary Sheffield, yes. I can't disagree with the Schauffele pick either. Yeah.
Getting to Morikawa.
Morikawa.
Yeah, I already said my piece of Morikawa. He's the kind of guy that can go low when the conditions are crazy.
Yeah, my biggest problem with Morikawa, and I think this is a recent deal, and I'm just not willing to jump on board. This is based off the last 50 rounds of analytics I ran. He sucks at scrambling and he sucks at putting, and you need both. I'm not going to pay up for Morikawa. I can't do it.
All right, it's gonna make it interesting. Because last week we were pretty much like cohesive with who we liked and who we didn't at the top. This week I think we're more oppositional because there's so many good names in that low 9s price range and then into the high 8s. There's so many great names there. So we better crack them off a little quicker now.
What was interesting though? I do want to poke fun at you real quick. My boy Rory, who I got to bring up every show, rates out really well, which is biased because
he's Irish.
He's also Irish. But more importantly, I would not have expected this until I ran the numbers. He actually rates out in the top 15 in windy conditions for approach game, which really surprised me, especially if you look at the beginning part of this calendar year, how bad his iron game was as a general statement. And I'm with you. I think Rory is a gamble, but I do like him up there at 10 flat because you can really stack it up. I mean, you can start at Rory. You can even start at JT at 10-7 on DK. And JT rates out fantastic. No surprise there.
Oh, yeah.
But you can start either one of those guys and possibly double stack 10K. You can definitely play one or two people in the 9K still because there's enough value at the bottom. So I've heard a lot of balance lineup builds are kind of around Twitter and stuff. I'm probably going to go a little more quote stars and scrubs, but they're not really scrubbed down there. They're just scrub pricing. So
exactly.
Okay. Well, we can work with that. I mean, if we still want to stay on the higher side, we're talking about Cantlay, and I think I might be the only one talking Cantlay today. Am I?
Yeah, I like him.
I like him.
Love him.
You like him. It's hard because
I was going to talk about Cam Smith.
Me too.
Just like Bo said, there are a lot of people within this range that you could fill your lineup with. I mean, we could talk all day about Spieth and Thompson, Thomas, Gary Sheffield. I'm just kidding. Sorry. Patrick Cantlay. He has not played since RBC Heritage, and he lost to Spieth in a playoff. In the team event, he played with Xander Schauffele. He set I believe they set the course record.
It sounds like Sean Connery saying softly.
Schauffele.
And speaking of Schauffele, like just to interject, since we're in that pricing tier, I don't get it. Like
I don't either.
Somebody help me. The guy had one good round, and he got his ass carried through the Zurich.
Mm-hmm.
He's done absolutely nothing else this year of any note. And now all of a sudden we're going to line up to play him in the mid to upper 9s against these guys who Hideki. You're going to play Xander Schauffele over Hideki.
No, I am not. I don't get it either. I stayed away from him, even though yeah, he has plenty of rostership across both, and even topping, like I mentioned, Scheffler in some of these. So it doesn't make sense to me. But Patrick Cantlay, 11-2 on FanDuel, 9-5 on DraftKings. He is a popular pick right now, and people might be like, well, he hasn't played in a month, but 23% of fans are rostering him and think he's ready to go. So I'm on board with that, not because of the rostership like the Schauffele play might be, but because Cantlay is a consistent and a good player.
Yeah, I'd rather spend up on Cam Smith or Jordan Spieth, if I'm honest.
Agreed. I like I like Cantlay, but I really like Cam Smith this week. And
oh my God.
Cam Smith,
at first I was doubtful, but I looked into it and I'm sold.
No, this is like the ugliest face I could ever make.
Everything.
Everything about Cam Smith right now looks good. And I ran it all the way back to the last 50 rounds the guys played. Everything looks good. And I think he's just poised and ready to go. Like every single time he's coming out, he's competing. Every time he's making cuts, like he's just there. He's knocking at the door. And I think that you're going to have a lot of people like myself that actually like Viktor Hovland, that like want to play Jordan Spieth. You'll see Spieth spike, especially after last week. The Xander Schauffele thing in that same pricing tier, I don't get, but whatever.
Let him have him.
Yeah, and to Kelly's point, Cantlay rates out excellently. He plays well. 9,100, I think, is a very fair price for him. But I'm with you, Bo. If I'm in the nines, I'm going Hideki and I'm going Cam Smith, maybe a spring.
I have Cantlay in my pool, but he's a tier 2 option, kind of in that same tier as Brooks Koepka, who's 100 cheaper at 9,000 even. Brooks really lines up with this course well. It's a longer course. It requires good scrambling. That's Brooks Koepka in a nutshell. You know he's going to show up for a major. He's never not shown up for a major. We're discounting him. He's always low rostership, which is great. Like people don't really like to play Brooks Koepka, but I do because the guy's nails when it comes to majors and big tournaments.
Sometimes.
Yes, when he feels like it.
I mean, I think it's worth mentioning that Cam Smith is the world number 4 at this time. And I think that goes like overlooked, but I'm just not into it this week. I was trying to find, I read at least 3 articles that helped to confirm why I didn't feel like I was on Cam Smith this week. And of course I cannot find one of them now. And that's how it always goes.
They already took it down because it was so off base.
Egregious.
Yeah.
They were off having
erroneous on all counts.
Erroneous, having second breakfast or whatever it was. But yeah. No, I don't know. Where are we at? Mid-tier?
We could
Shane Lowry. And then that Joaquin Niemann, Shane Lowry tier that we're all talking about. And for some reason Connor wants to talk about Daniel Berger. I don't understand that at all.
I mean, why not? Daniel Berger does keep popping up when I go through articles, when I go through the numbers.
He's a spreadsheet king, and then you play the actual tournaments, and he looks abominable. Even if he lines up perfectly with the course, he goes out and shoots +8 on the first day, and you're like, what happened to Daniel Berger? Well, he didn't play to the stats. He just didn't put the ball in the hole. It's an awful pick. I'll die on that hill.
I'll put him in his lineup. I'll put him in my lineup. So
yeah,
to Bo's point slightly, I'll give you a little bit of agreement, not credit, but agreement. He does have a little bit of a polarizing kind of finishing percentage. He'll finish anywhere between top 5 all the way to like missing the cut over his last 10, 15 tournaments he's played. The things I like about him at current though, I just think that he typically does seem to play a little bit better in the wind. He definitely has a decent flat stick on him almost all the time. He's either average or just above. his approach game, he's always gaining strokes, and his overall tee to green, if you look at the broad spectrum, he's always somewhere between 3.5 to 6 strokes gained every tournament. And the only reason I bring those things up with Daniel Berger is you mix consistent every shot in the bag game with the ability to play in a little bit of wind and a steady Eddie putter. I just think if it is a low scoring event, or you know what I mean by low scoring, low finishing score type of event, I think Berger's live.
I think that a neutral off the tee score this week is going to be a crippling blow, because if you're not good off the tee here, you're stuck in that fescue rough out there, and you're hitting long approaches out of the rough. You are screwed on this course, because you're going to hit that hot shot out of the rough. It's going to go over the green. You're going to short side yourself in a collection area, and you're looking at double, triple bogey on that hole. And so neutral off the tee, if he's 0.00 strokes gained off the tee per round, I can't have him this week. I need a guy who's going to gain strokes off the tee and then make enough putts and scramble well enough.
But you're not right, because over the last 15 rounds or 15 tournaments he's played, he's gained as much as 10 strokes tee to green. He's gained as low as 2 strokes tee to green. I wouldn't consider that to be average by any means. And off the tee specifically, yeah, that may not be his bread and butter, but he hasn't finished losing strokes in the foreseeable past. And he
gains a lot on approach and around the green. Yeah. I'll give him that. That's an appealing stat. I'm just thinking you have to have the whole bag this week. And like I said, neutral off the tee isn't going to let the guy attack the pins like he's good at, or have to scramble for your life instead of scrambling for a birdie on a par 5, because there's only 2 of those.
I can get on board with that statement for sure, but I just don't want people to overlook, because I think people will glance at his finishing positions like you kind of mentioned, and I think they'll look at it and go, meh, he may make the cut, he may miss the cut. I don't know if he'll win. And when you start
not in that tier, you need a guy who's going to have a chance to win.
And I like Lowry.
I'm not saying he doesn't.
I like Lowry and Neiman better. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, and they're right there. But I do think Berger can be a decent play.
Perfect. I completely agree with those 2 guys.
Simply agree.
Are you playing Bryson or Tiger this week?
I'm playing Tiger. FOMO bets.
Yeah, you don't want to miss when Tiger plays a major. You just don't want to have 0 exposure. Like, I'm probably not going to have more than 20% over my 20 lineups, but I'm going to have some Tiger.
And I was joking earlier in our pre-show, but our chat with Kelly, and this is a little more her world, I think, than ours. But throwing $20 at Bryson at 180 to 1 or whatever he's trending at, I don't think I've spent.
You're lighting it on fire.
I've spent it way dumber than that. I mean, that's really not. Dude, he could.
Pretty dumb.
Who knows? He might have been in the lab pumping himself full of those Capri Suns Kelly was drinking, and now he's just ready to go.
Well, and he played like crap. The last comeback he had to have carpal tunnel surgery after he played terribly, coming off back surgery.
I'm just saying, 180 to 1 for Bryson was last time.
He's just an attention whore. He's a sideshow at this point. He's a long drive guy that won't give it up.
He's a caricature of his former self. I will definitely say that for sure. I mean,
I'm with you.
I see him like teeing off, and if it doesn't go well, he'll withdraw. So I don't feel safe playing him or putting any dollar amount on him, to be honest.
No, and to be perfectly clear, I'm with you. Like, I think he's completely live to hit about 4 shots and walk off the course too. I was more joking. It was more in jest, but Tiger, I do have actual interest in playing, and not just because he's played well here before, but also it's Tiger Woods. It's a major. It's an easier walk than Augusta, which you'll hear a lot of people say around the industry this week. You mix all those things together with him even coming out and saying that the knee's not great, but it feels better than it did last time he teed it up. That's a dangerous man. You can't completely fade Tiger.
Yeah, I did not play Tiger because I was on the fence. What's going to happen? Is he going to tee off and get all the fanfare and then withdraw, and people would be fine because he's injured, but he didn't. He persevered and he did well. So I may do a lineup with the FOMO play in it just because I don't want to be the one left out. I won't put it in our bet because it's not in my original thoughts, but I definitely don't want to leave it out. Yeah, that's about it. That's my thoughts on Tiger. Both muted and talking to himself.
No doubt.
Oh, sorry. I don't have anybody in that high sevens range, but I do drop down to a couple guys at 7,600 that really appealed to me on DraftKings.
Stop. Because stop.
Rory
I'm not ready to go
Connors.
that low yet. We have
Rory Connors. Here it comes.
Corey Connors.
But why? But why?
Because she plays him every week.
He has such a soft smile.
Okay, fine. I am
Canadian,
playing Corey Connors.
He's a true gentleman.
So polite.
I am playing Corey Connors, but I don't have to talk about Corey Connors. Everybody can look at Corey Connors themselves and see he's slightly overpriced on FanDuel at 9.8, but on DraftKings, he's a soft 8. And I think that's perfect for your lineup there on DraftKings. But let's talk about...
Can I just say, joking aside and being rude to you, I do actually have Corey Connors in a couple of my builds. And that's saying something for me because I hate playing Corey Connors. And he popped...
Just lighting your money on fire, Connor. I'm off him completely this week. You can't convince me to even put him in one right now. I can't do it.
It's fine.
He's like number 3 in the field in high wind.
Mm-hmm.
So none of those were on Southern Hills.
His worst finish since the start of March, April, May, 2.5 months, was 35th place. And how many people in the field would give their left arm for 35th place in a tournament? The rest of them have been, he has 4 top 25 finishes and 3rd place finish at WGC match play. So I am fully expecting him to be in the top 20, if not the top 10. But I'm happy to talk about.
That's funny you say that.
3rd, if you'd like.
Oh, we're not that low yet. But listen, why would we play an 8,000 guy that makes cuts and scores pretty decently? He's getting outscored by Tommy Fleetwood in fantasy points per game, and Fleetwood's down at 7,600. I'm going to take the guy who's got the wizard short game over Corey Connors anytime.
But 35th place is not just making the cut. That's
making the cut and being in the middle
half of the cut.
Right. But he's still not scoring fantasy points. He's getting outscored on DraftKings by guys that
you would
are
have
cheaper.
to make a cut in order to score points.
Yeah, but even then, he's not winning those tournaments because he's not scoring enough birdies, which is what we really count in DraftKings.
On birdies, I will give you that. But if we were to look back on missed cuts versus made cuts are better, even if there are fewer points. Missed cuts are not scoring any points, so Fleetwood might be beating him points per game.
Fleetwood's only missed 1 cut in the last calendar year, so you can miss me with that argument.
Fleetwood, really? I jokingly built a lineup with Fleetwood because it gets a knee-jerk reaction. Everybody thinks that Fleetwood is playing really poorly, and Fleetwood is not playing great.
No.
But he's
not great.
But he's definitely. I think he's very live here. This just seems like a good fit for Tommy. It seems like he's trending in the right direction. I like the pricing. I like that people, I think he's another guy that falls victim to this, people expect him to be top 5 all the time. And that's not Tommy Fleetwood. I mean, I can't even think of a run where that even applies to Tommy Fleetwood.
There's a reason he's under $8,000 on DraftKings.
Right. But I think I think he's one of those guys that people expect more out of all the time. And he quietly does a nice job. I mean, he really is very proficient at scoring for us. Proficient.
He scores more points than Corey Connors for a lower price. That's all I'm looking at.
Okay. I will say that Fleetwood does have that ambition and that drive that I do admire in a player and that I often look for. And he is like a survivor or a scrambler. He gets in a tough spot, he figures it out, and it may not be the prettiest, but what do they say? You don't draw pictures on scorecards. So I will give you the benefit of the doubt on Fleetwood in this particular tournament. Yes, I do not have him in any of mine, but that doesn't mean that nobody else should. And perhaps I should build one with him in it. I'll give it to you.
I think a guy that I have to bring up, I've been on literally every single time we've done this show, is my boy Cam Young. Continuing to just show that he can do it all.
That one's unanimous for
I think we're all on board with Cam Young. Yes. So people taking notes at home, Cam Young.
He'll be chalk, but I think that this is low tier chalk to eat. I really think Cam Young is he scores points and he makes cuts.
Yep.
That's all I need to say about him.
No, I agree. I have Cam Young in my current, like my first stab at a lineup, and I'm feeling good about Cam Young.
All right, you can go down to Varner now. That's
Can I?
Who I have next. Yeah.
All right, Harold Varner III, 8.8 on FanDuel, 7.8 on DraftKings, which is the perfect equivalency when you're talking about how much money you have to spend on each platform. So for those of you
7,000 flat for Harold Varner.
7 flat.
What are we doing, people?
For those of you who are not familiar with the differences in the platforms, you get 10,000 more to spend on FanDuel, but they are often about 1 to 3, maybe 1 to 5,000 difference between the two, depending on who it is. So Harold Varner III, he might be playing like the very best golf of his life right now. And it's under the radar. I don't think people really realize that he's a great golfer. He's finished 23 or better in each of his last 4 starts. And he tied 5th in the Zurich Classic team event and 3rd at RBC Heritage. And I don't think people realize that. So he's due. He is due. In my article today, I was like, I am here for it. He's ranking 5th in his approach strokes gained. But here's the caveat. And you mentioned it early on, Connor, about driving accuracy. That is Harold Varner III's weakness. Yeah. He is not an accurate driver, but
he spends a lot of time in the rough.
He does. And we don't necessarily need to talk about scrambling, but because he ranks so high in his approach, it's not necessarily ranked as a scramble because it's not right next to the green. But his approach / scrambling from the middle of the fairway area is very good. So if he can hold on to that, we're in good shape, I think.
So I love HV3. He's a guy I love to root for. He's a guy that I say routinely, even on this show, that if I get burned by Harold Varner, I'm still going to be in the bar watching Sunday cheering for him because I just love Harold Varner. I will not be
really easy to root for
anywhere near my lineup. He's not good in the wind. He's not good off the tee. To Bo's point earlier, if you're wayward off the tee here, like you're going to have more problems once you get anywhere near the green. Like this is not HV3 week. I will be back to play him very, very soon because I do like where he's trending at and everything, but this is not a good fit for Mr. Varner, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
I hope he's wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I'm cheering for him on Sunday, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
So what are we going to do about guys that are down there? I mean, going below 7,000 is a little shaky because you got Seamus Power there at 7,000 even as well. Big fan of his because he's a great putter, great approach player as well. But you can actually go down even lower to guys like Aaron Wise, Matt Kuchar even. I don't have any problem with those. And then your guy, Davis Riley. Yeah, back to the Cooch. The Cooch is in play. Davis Riley, I like a lot. The guy is a scorer. I don't like him half of the weeks because half the weeks he misses the cut by a long shot, and then he'll pop up all of a sudden and score a bunch of fantasy points every other week, and you just got to nail him down because Davis Riley is an enigma for DFS. He's either great or he's terrible.
I keep calling him Zalatoris V2.0 or Zalatoris Light, and he's about half as good as Zalatoris in most metrics, except he's about 70% better at putting and scrambling than Zalatoris is, which is why I kind of like Davis Riley this week. And I played him last week. I've been playing him. This is a kid that mark my words, and a lot of people already are seeing this, is going to pop off. This is going to be one of those players that you're going to see in the top 10 consistently. I'm telling you.
Bo, you're on mute again. Do you have anything else to add to the low portion before I give my very favorite value pick?
Yeah, go for it. What's your wild card?
I'm going with JJ Spawn.
He paid off for you earlier this season, big time.
He did. Yeah, 7.8 on FanDuel, 6.9 on DraftKings. He won the Valero Texas Open, and I was like, what? Because I picked him as my value pick, and I also put money on him to win because I was like, why not? It sounds like fun. So I've been fairly high on him ever since. It has not necessarily paid off for me, but this week, it's more than just being high on JJ Spawn. He is poised to do well this week because his last 5 starts, he's made the cut 4 times. That was a terrible song, but he's averaging 8 under per round. 8 under per round. At this value, we need to get on board with. That's an average over his last 5 starts. Get on board. JJ Spawn, value pick. I don't think it's going to let us down.
I can't disagree with that. He'll be in my pool. My value pick is actually a guy just back over to 7,000. Sergio Garcia is not going to be very highly owned, but he's still one of the best ball strikers in the entire world. He's got the lowest ball flight on tour, so the guy can pierce the stingers all over his course with enough length to attack pins. And even though he stinks at putting and always has, around the greens, he's quite good. So if he can make any kind of putts, Sergio Garcia is going to hang around this week, and I really love that value at 7,200 when it's going to be less than 5% rostered.
Mine's just over 7 again as well at 7,100. I am actually going to be playing our boy Mav McNeely this week. I think I'm going back to him now. I think this is a better course fit for him. I think this is somebody that does play better in the wind, and he's also a very good putter, especially on bent grass. So I will be playing our boy Mav McNeely, and a nice
shout out NorCal.
Nice byproduct is he also is number 16 in the field over the last 50 rounds for DK points. This is a dude who scores. So I'm in on Matt McNeely this week.
I'm so happy to hear you say this. I probably won't play him this week, but last week he did. I mean, he didn't do great, but he scored a lot of points. He scored a lot of points for where he ended up finishing. So I think Matt McNeely is a Maverick is a great pick.
I didn't think he fit last week. I think he fits this week, and I liked his form from last week. And this plays.
Oh yeah, because you were wrong. You can be right this week.
I specifically remember in the chat saying Maverick McNeely will not make the cut. Mark
guaranteed,
my word.
Said Connor. Guaranteed, Maverick McNeely gonna miss the cut. Man, the top 10 really was pretty close to missing the cut, wasn't it?
It's okay. It's okay.
And Kelly, who will your captain of your team be this week?
Oh, yeah. Who's your captain this week, Bo?
My captain this week is Colin Morikawa, and I kind of wavered a little bit because there are a couple other guys that I could have gone with, but I'll stick with my first call yesterday, I believe. where I believe Morikawa was my early leader when I started my research. Cam Smith kind of grew on me as my second alternate captain, but I'll stick with Colin Morikawa as mine.
Since both of you are from the Shire, it makes sense, you and Cam Smith, but I'm really glad that you're going
I'm proud
with
to be from the
Morikawa
Shire.
and searching outside of your intimate community. I'm really proud of you.
All my relatives have mullets too, so
Get them. I'll go next. We'll let Kelly round it out. And I'm not going to take anybody that I think you're going to take. My captain's going to be Joaquin Niemann. He's got every shot in the bag. I know it's lower down the salary, but this is a guy that will be in the majority of my lineups. I believe in him this week. He's got the chops to take this tournament down.
Well, that just tells me that 8,500 for him on DraftKings is a steal.
I like Neiman. I'm not going to lie. It came up again and again in my research this week, today especially. But I am going with tried and true Scheffler. It probably doesn't surprise anybody week after week, but I'm going to stick with Scheffler and go chalk and then build from there. So if you want to join me, I will be posting my lineups for both FanDuel and DraftKings like I did last week on Twitter late sometime tomorrow, but before lock.
See. Yeah. No arguments here. I just hope that my guy scores more points.
Get him on the show. He seems nice, right? He's got kind eyes.
He's very kind.
Eyes.
He was very classy when he won the Masters. Let's just say that.
Not friend of the show, Max Homa.
Not enemy of the show, Max Homa.
Yeah, we love Max Homa on the show.
Soon to be friend of the show.
I'm just going to call Davis Riley. His number is still probably posted somewhere. He'll probably just come on the show.
I really want to get.
We love him every week.
Like Ian Poulter, he is so good with fans. I'd be like, come on, dude.
Yeah. I love that guy. He's one of the best follows on Instagram too.
Well, you guys, this was great. Do we have any closing thoughts? Anything going on that you want to share? I think the only thing I want to share is my video and my blog posts are both live already right now.
Already retweeted, already liked.
Team Riser Fall.
Team Riser Fall, baby.
My segment will be tomorrow, 4:45-ish Eastern time on Woodward Bets. But this is my favorite place to like hash it all out. So I'm really grateful to have this platform and be able to talk golf with you guys. Bo, do you have anything going?
Yep, I got my golf article on Team Riser Fall starting tomorrow. I'll have it published probably midday, and check it out for my top 6 picks and a couple other players that are going to be in my pool.
Connor, anything going? Exciting?
I just hang out here, and anybody who's watching can watch me beat you guys at DFS every week.
Except for last week.
Yeah, last week wasn't even close.
Under protest. I can't help see D-Pan got diarrhea, okay?
Yeah, I think you still would have lost.
Oh my goodness. You guys are the best. Super grateful to be here with you, and stay tuned to IBT Media. There is NASCAR coming up in 20-ish minutes.
Football. They're doing the Dynasty show.
They are?
Dynasty football. Yeah.
That was NASCAR. I am such a bad
NASCAR is next week. They alternate Tuesdays.
Oh, crap. I am the worst.
We go every Tuesday now.
Football show.
Stay tuned for football. If you've been having football missing-itis, you have 20 minutes to get yourself a beverage and a snack and come back here to IBT Media YouTube and watch the show and do it. Get ready. Peace out, homies.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
The club is well. This would be a wrestling match.